Hi y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Little Ways, Little Things. I am coming to you from my messy craft room. I'm sort of self-containing or self-quarantining or whatever, self-isolating myself in here because there are all sorts of craziness things going on outside. I have people, a daughter home from college that shouldn't be here, a husband who would have been on spring break anyway, who's home, and another daughter whose birthday it is that I'm expecting shortly. So there's just a lot of things going on, but I thought I would kind of isolate myself in here and talk to you about the video that I have for you today. It is St. Patrick's Day week this week. So if you are already a big celebrator of St. Patrick's Day, then I hope this will add a little fun to your week. If you're not, this might be something fun to do with the kids. I will link a craft video at the end of this one where I did a little St. Patrick's Day craft, and then you might want to try one of these two recipes. I have two recipes for you today. One for Irish coffee. I have always wanted to try Irish coffee, but I'm always kind of afraid to do it out at a restaurant or whatever because I always think it might be too strong. But my daughter and I got a recipe and we tried it here. She recently went to Ireland and her husband had tried a lot of different Irish whiskeys, so we're gonna try one of those. I absolutely loved it. It was so smooth and so good. But anyway, the second recipe that I have is an Irish soda bread. My mother-in-law showed me how to make this years and years ago, and I've been making it ever since. It goes great if you're going to be making a roast or a stew or something this week. You might want to make this bread to go with it. The bonus is it does not take any yeast. It is super, super easy. So if you have some flour and milk and whatnot, you can probably put this together. And if your shelves are bare, you can even use it just like regular sandwich bread. This is my daughter Allie, and we have all of the ingredients here to make an authentic Irish coffee, and we are going to start with this Jameson Whiskey. It's Irish whiskey. What can you tell us about that?
I really was not a whiskey drinker until my husband and I traveled to Dublin and we visited. He kind of talked me into doing a tour of their distillery, and we did a tasting there, and I really fell in love with this. So now a Jameson bottle is pretty much a staple in our house.
Okay, and that's what we're going to make the Irish coffee out of, and it's a really popular one to use, so we're staying kind of authentic with that. All right, I've made some coffee. I brewed it really hot, but I have to say that it is breakfast coffee because it's kind of a little bit not as strong because I don't like really strong coffee. So I did just a regular like Folgers breakfast blend, and we're gonna try that. So the first thing that it says that we're supposed to do is put in 2 teaspoons of brown sugar, which we have brown sugar right here. So we're each gonna do 2 teaspoons of that in the bottom of this authentic Irish coffee mug, which I got from the Dollar Tree.
Really, from the Dollar Tree? They're
Yes,
pretty nice.
From the Dollar Tree.
Wouldn't have guessed.
All right, there you go.
Okay, 2.
2, right. And then we're supposed to do 4 ounces of coffee. So what's 4 ounces? Oh yeah, there it is. It's 4 ounces is a half of a cup. So you got 2 teaspoons in there?
Mm-hmm, sure do.
All right, so I'm going to do a half of a cup of coffee. It's nice, fresh brewed coffee. All right, now I'm going to do a cup there. Now comes the fun part. Well, first we have to stir it. So stir it to dissolve the brown sugar. I never had brown sugar in my coffee before. Okay, now comes the really fun part because we are going to do 1.5 ounces. Oh, let me double check so we don't over imbibe. It says 1.5 ounces of Irish whiskey.
I'm sorry, did you say imbibe? Okay.
All right, so do it like they do on Bar Rescue, where you go like that.
That is 100% not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
How much am I doing?
1.5 ounces. Is that a shot?
That's a shot.
1.5 ounces is one shot.
I guess so. If this thing is accurate.
We don't know.
I don't drink enough for that.
That's a lot. Do we have to put that much? Dang.
YOLO. Oh, I missed a little bit.
Oh, you're really gonna use that whole one? Okay, well go ahead then and do me that full little shot there.
YOLO.
Let me smell it first. Smells like cough medicine.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to work for my mom, who doesn't like this sort of thing, but we'll see.
I'm usually like a tequila drinker.
A tequila drinker. What she's saying is she likes the girly beverages.
Yes.
The fruity ones.
All right, so now we're gonna take some lightly whipped cream, which I whipped myself. And we're supposed to put a big dollop right here.
Fancy.
Yeah, fancy. Whoa. You want to put your own dollop or you want me to?
Go for it.
Oh, we're splashing this all over the place.
Not neat.
All right, well that's it. That is actually an authentic Irish whiskey. So
That was it?
that's it.
Oh, okay. I was expecting more steps.
Yeah, no, that's it. At least that's what it said on the internet.
Right.
Now, you can also make them with that Bailey's, and I even brought some ready whip over here to show you that you don't have to whip your own cream, but this was supposed to be an authentic one. So for St. Patrick's Day, we're going to try an authentic one. And St. Patrick's Day is also the day after your birthday, so that's why we want to try to do something festive. So here,
That's
cheers
right.
to your birthday and to
Thank
St.
you.
Patrick's Day.
To a new year.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it too, actually.
I'm surprised. I thought you weren't going to like it, but I
No.
like it.
Because I can really taste the coffee.
Yeah, that's good.
It's good. So
Yeah, because Jameson, it has a bite to it, but it's also very sweet. So mixed with the bitterness of the coffee, and then you can that sugar in there, it's good.
it is really
Kind of
good.
chocolatey almost.
So for St. Patrick's Day, since everyone's going to be spending St. Patrick's Day at home this year because of the coronavirus, make yourself a nice Irish coffee and chill out and have a really great holiday. Let's get started on that Irish soda bread. I am adding 1 cup of raisins to 3 cups of flour, and I'm kind of tossing it together. Then I'll add 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I will write that in the box down below so you don't have to remember that. But I'm just going to give everything a toss together to mix up the dry ingredients and get those raisins coated. And that way they won't all sink to the bottom. They'll be kind of evenly dispersed throughout the bread and they will be so yummy. I'm going to add 1.5 cups of buttermilk. But here's the catch. I didn't happen to have any buttermilk, and with all of the pandemic scare and everything, I didn't want to go to the grocery store. So it's easy to make your own buttermilk. You just do 1 cup of milk to 1 tablespoon of white vinegar and let it sit. So I did 1.5 cups of milk and 1.5 tablespoons of white vinegar, and I let it sit for 15 minutes and then stirred it up. And basically then I've just made buttermilk. And as you can see, I'm just very slowly incorporating everything together, pouring that homemade buttermilk into the bowl. And I'm kind of just making sure not to over stir it or overwork it because you don't want it to get tough. You just barely get it all together until it's really incorporated well, but not like overbeat it like it's some sort of a cake batter or something. Now I've measured out about 4 tablespoons of extra flour into a little cup, and I'm just using my hands to knead the dough a little bit. And if it feels like it's way too sticky, I'm just going to sprinkle on a little bit more of that flour. You don't want to go as high as a half of a cup or anything, because that will mean you've added too much flour to the bread. But just put a couple tablespoons into a little dish or something, and as you're kneading the dough in the bowl, you can add some here and there just to make sure that it's not quite so wet and sticky. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is put it in a cast iron pan. I love to use my cast iron pan for this because it gives it a really nice crust on the outside and the bottom. But if you don't have a cast iron skillet or like something like that, you could always just use a baking sheet with some parchment paper on it or sprayed with canola oil. But I'm going to go ahead and use my skillet. So I'm just making sure all of the dough is in the skillet, and I did put about a teaspoon of oil and kind of spread it around the skillet before I put the dough in. Now I'm just kind of pushing it to the center and making sure that it's like in a little disc in the center of the skillet. The next thing I'm going to do is cut across into the top of the bread with a sharp knife or a sharp pair of baking scissors. And that is a real signature aspect of this Irish soda bread. It gives the bread ventilation. These type of breads need a little bit of ventilation as they're baking, but it also reminds me that it is St. Patrick's Day, and this should be a blessing to my whole family. The next thing you're going to do is put it in the oven at 350 for 35 minutes. I've done that, and I could hardly wait to take it out, but here it is. It is beautiful. Don't you just love homemade bread? This is especially a good one because there's no yeast involved, so you could see how super easy it was, but it still smells so good. It's so warm and so delicious. You can eat this with just about anything that you're going to be making for St. Patrick's Day, whether it's a hearty soup, a stew, or a corned beef like we'll be making. It slices so beautifully. You do want to let it rest for at least 10 minutes before you cut into it. Use a bread knife to slice it, and wow, it is so tasty with butter or just even plain. But like I said, I'm going to be serving mine with a corned beef and cabbage, and I make it every year for St. Patrick's Day, and it's a really big favorite of my family, although I have to say my youngest daughter does not like the raisins. So if you want to leave the raisins out, sometimes you'll see this recipe with currants, but I usually use the raisins. But if you want to leave it out, you can do that. No judging here. I'm going to put the recipe down below, but you can double it and make 2 loaves. It is super yummy. You can see that I can hardly wait to eat some. Well, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. And if you think you might try one of these 2 recipes, be sure you tag me on Instagram so I can see. Make sure if you're not subscribed that you hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell so you can be notified the next time I upload a video. Happy St. Patrick's Day!